Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about a few habits and mindsets that I've had to change as an artist over the years. A lot of these things were holding me back without me even realizing it. Some of them made drawing less enjoyable, some made me less productive, and some just made me unnecessarily hard on myself. So if you've ever felt frustrated with your art journey, hopefully this video helps. Number 1 was the expectation versus reality gap. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I have moments where I think, I should be better at this by now. Maybe it's anatomy, maybe it's coloring, maybe it's drawing in general. And honestly, those thoughts can be incredibly discouraging. I think one of the most unproductive things you can do as an artist is to constantly beat yourself up over your skill level. Wanting to improve is completely normal. That's a part of being an artist. But when that desire turns into resentment towards your own progress, that's when it becomes toxic. The reality is that art isn't a straight line. Improvement happens unevenly. Sometimes you'll make huge leaps forward, and sometimes you'll feel like you're stuck for months. What's helped me is giving myself grace for where I am right now and appreciating how far I've come. Instead of asking, why am I not better, I try to ask, what have I learned since last year? This shift in perspective makes a huge difference. Number 2 was obsessing over every little detail. I think I'm still victim to this, and I've always been the type of artist who likes to take my time. I love to render, I love polishing details, I'm a perfectionist and I love making everything look finished. But over time, I realized something. A lot of what I was spending hours rendering wasn't actually important. I was pouring enormous amounts of time into details that most people would never notice. Now don't get me wrong, taking your time isn't bad, but obsessing over every tiny element can become a trap. Sometimes perfectionism disguises itself as productivity. You feel busy because you're working on the drawing, but you're not necessarily making meaningful improvements. These days, I try to streamline my process and only focus on rendering places that people actually look at, such as the head and the hands. I ask myself, what actually matters in this piece? And what's the focal point? What do I want people to notice first? By simplifying my workflow, I finish more artwork, learn faster, and honestly enjoy the process a lot more. Which leads into the next thing that I had to stop doing, which is number 3, drawing without thinking first. Sometimes I just want to open a blank canvas and see where it takes me. And there's definitely a place for that, but I've learned that for finished illustrations, spending a little more time planning can save a lot more time later. Before I start drawing, I usually try to answer a few questions. What am I drawing? What's the mood? What's the pose? And what references do I need? Some artists make thumbnails, some artists do extensive planning, but personally I'm not a huge fan of thumbnails. I do think that having some kind of direction where you start is helpful, but I've tried it before and I don't know, maybe it's just not my thing. But because if you don't know what you're trying to create, it's very easy to spend hours wandering around the canvas without making any real progress. A few minutes of planning can save hours of frustration. Which takes me into my next point, which is point number 4, endless scrolling for inspiration. Now let's talk about Pinterest. I love Pinterest and every artist I know loves Pinterest too. It's an amazing tool for collecting references and finding inspiration, but there's also a lot of danger. If I open Pinterest without a specific goal, I can lose an entire hour scrolling. One reference turns into another, then another, and then another. Suddenly I'm looking at artwork, photography, fashion, room designs, things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I originally wanted to draw. And the worst part is, at the end of all that scrolling, I haven't actually drawn anything. And sometimes it's even worse than that, because the more time I spend consuming other people's work, the less energy I have for creating my own. Now when I look for references, I try to be intentional. I search for exactly what I need, I save it, and then I get back to drawing. Inspiration is important, but creating is more important. And speaking of consuming other people's work, the 5th point is comparing myself to other artists. This is probably the biggest one, and as artists, we're constantly surrounded by incredibly talented people. Every time we open social media, we're seeing amazing illustrations, incredible paintings, stunning character designs, and artists who seem miles ahead of us. And it's very easy to fall into the habit of comparing your work to theirs. I've done it. I'm pretty sure every artist has done it, but here's the one thing. Comparison completely ignores context. You don't know how many years that artist has been drawing, you don't know how many failures they've gone through, and you don't even know how many hours they've invested behind the scenes. And most importantly, none of that matters because their journey isn't your journey. It doesn't matter what the other person has been through. What matters is what you are going through right now. And I want to prove something to you really quickly. Think about your favorite artist. Now imagine a world where they stopped creating because they thought someone was better than them. That would be a complete loss for everyone, and the same applies to you. The art world doesn't need another copy of someone else's work. It needs your specific perspective. It needs your ideas and your experiences and your voice. Only you can create art exactly the way that you do. That's why your talent deserves to be nurtured and cared for instead of constantly being compared to someone else's. At the end of the day, art is already challenging enough. We don't need to make it harder by being our own worst critic. So if you're struggling right now, try to give yourself a little bit more grace. Focus less on where you think you should be and more on the progress you're making. Keep creating, keep learning, and most importantly, don't forget to enjoy the journey. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.